I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on GBN, we're diving into a story of grit, grace, and transformation. The name of the book, From Welfare to Faring Well, Journey to Success by Sherman L. Whitfield. This is a deeply personal memoir, and in it, the author reveals how he rose from poverty to prosperity, driven by faith, resilience, and a refusal to accept excuses. This is more than just a testimony, it is a roadmap for anyone striving to overcome adversity and reclaim their future. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us today on GBN, and we thank Atticus Publishing for helping us put him on the Global Book Network today. Sherman, welcome to GBN TV.
Logan, thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here today.
Excited to have you on the show. Let's turn the clock back.
Mhm.
What was it like for you growing up? You were not the prosperous man we see today. You were
No,
a child who had a lot of needs, right?
yes. As a matter of fact, Logan, I grew up, breakfast just was not a meal that we had in my home.
Hmm.
From the time I was born till I finished high school, we never had breakfast. Why? We didn't have any money, didn't have any food to buy breakfast, okay? But my mom, I give her credit, she instilled in us never give up,
Hmm.
never complain, but be the best that you can be, okay?
Yeah.
So what my brothers and I, we just figured out if we need food and we don't have it in the house, we got to find a way to get some food.
Hmm.
So there was a local grocery store in town that every Tuesday would put out the back of its door old bananas, old oranges, old apples, stale bread. And we knew when the garbage truck would come. We would beat the garbage truck, get there.
Wow.
We would eat all that we could from it, Logan, okay? And if we was on there, had a good day, we was able to take some of the food back home to our other siblings, okay?
Oh.
Now let's talk just a little about clothes. Clothes was around in my home, okay? My mom used to do work for this lady across town. When I say cross town, that's the other people, okay? But my mom used to work with her, work for her. And one day she told my mom, she said, Lucy, that's my mom's name. I know you raising those children, those 6 children without a husband. So I've got some clothes my children has overgrown. Would you like them? My mother said, yes, ma'am. She was excited about it. So Logan, she brought the clothes home, and she had all of us kids to line up. As she took the clothes out of the bag, she would match it up against my sister, my brothers, see who it fit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the bag, Logan, was some girl blue jeans. So she put them next to my sisters. They didn't fit either my
Oh,
sisters.
gosh.
That was a bad thing. My mother said, Sherman, come here. Now, my mom, when she tell you to come here, you don't give her no frown, you don't look away.
Yeah.
Not back in the day, okay?
Yep.
My mother believed I brought you in this world and I will take you out, okay? So
Exactly.
that's what she put
My
in.
mom was quick to do that too if she didn't like what you were saying. Yep.
Gotcha. Yes,
Yep.
sir. Yes, sir.
Exactly.
So as I stood up in front of, in my mind, I'm saying, Lord, please don't let them fit. Lord, no. I stood up. That was perfect.
Oh, good God.
You're well. So I wore those to school. I was in second grade. And the thing, Logan, back in the day, in the 50s, girl blue jeans, all girl jeans zipped up on the side,
Oh,
not in the front. So there's no way I could wear those jeans to school and kids not know they're girl blue
you'd
jeans.
get into a lot of fights.
Yes,
That's for sure.
for boys and girls. I mean, because they
Exactly.
just all just made fun of them. I mean, So
Yep.
that was a challenge. That was a challenge. But again, my mom told us, Sherman, never give up. You can be all you want to be if you don't give up. No blaming. Never give up. Picking cotton. Just briefly about
Hmm.
my picking cotton days. Okay. Again, my mom. Again, not having a husband, working outside of the home, but Lord had blessed her with 6 kids and 3 boys. And us
Right.
boys were bigger than the average boys in the neighborhood. So,
Yeah.
Logan, we could actually go to the cotton field in the third grade. Okay, that's third grade. That means I'm 8 years old, going to the cotton field, picking cotton, not as a social activity, but
Right.
in order that we might eat. Okay. And my brothers and I was picking more cotton than some of the grown-ups out there. Why? We was driven because we needed to eat. The family needed to eat.
Right.
So that was part of that. Did I mention also that, and I'm going to move on off of this, that I met the Queen of England? Okay.
No.
Oh, okay. So
Okay.
I'm
No,
just saying.
no, mention it to me. I'm sorry. You haven't mentioned
Okay.
it yet. Go ahead.
No, when I do a speech, when I talk about the trials and tribulations, I always, Logan, throw in, because I don't want people to hear my speech and say, oh, Poe Sherman. It's not Poe Sherman anymore, okay? So I don't want to hear no Poe Sherman. So I always throw in that, hey, by the way, when my wife and I was living in London, England, the Queen would come to the American Embassy to meet the executives that were working in England, okay? So my wife was a higher executive than I was, but I was executive, but not her, okay? So she got invited, but she could bring me, Logan. We got there, and the Queen actually came to visit us. So I tell people, I didn't go to visit the Queen, she came to visit me, okay?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So.
That is awesome. Amazing. Well, it's like 180 degrees from picking cotton and wearing girl jeans because they're the only ones you guys could, salvage,
Yes.
to meeting the Queen. That's a great full
Yes.
circle story. What was the turning point? You grow up, you've got, you're one of six, you don't have any money, your mom's a single mom, she can barely afford to feed you. When did things start to get better? Where did you go to school? Tell us what the path out was, the path out of poverty.
Okay, I had an uncle that lived in Chicago, and he was from Arkansas, and he used to come home every summer, and he was driving this nice car and all of that, and so that was sort of an inspiration. I said, wow, I'd like to have one of those, okay? And what happened, Logan, when I was in the 10th grade, my uncle said, Sherman, you and your other brothers can come to Chicago during the summer, working in the cotton field, and I'll get you a job up here in Chicago. Whoa, we was excited, okay? Yeah. So we went to Chicago that first summer, and my brother was 18, so he could go work in a factory, and I was only 17. So he said, Sherman, the only place I can get you a job at is in this restaurant, washing dishes and waiting tables. Mm-hmm. So Logan, I went there the first week and working in the restaurant. So at the end of the week, when my brother got paid and he came home and had his check, and I looked at his check and I looked at what I had made at the restaurant, they didn't line up. Okay. So I told my brother, I said, no, you making all this money and would come all the way to Chicago and wash dishes. I could wash dishes back in Arkansas. Okay? So I said, let me have your Social Security card. He said, what are you going to do with it? I said, I'm going to go get me a job like yours. Mm-hmm. So I literally took his Social Security card, went to the factories around Chicago until I found a job. And I literally worked that summer with his Social Security card and his name. Wow. Okay. Because I didn't come all the way to Chicago to leave there hungry, need money. Okay. So that was the experience to going to Chicago was the first thing that happened that was an opening to a new world. So yeah, I was excited for that.
Wonderful, wonderful. You went to a big city, you saw there were people making lots of money, there are ways to do it, even if you had to assume your brother's identity. So
yes.
It's funny, I was a very tall kid. I was like 6'5" by the time I was 14 years old.
Wow, okay.
So I used to get a summer job. I used to tell them I was 18 and I'd be like 13 years old.
Okay.
They'd hire you, and you wouldn't need working papers then because working papers would hold you back too.
Yes, yes.
It went along the lines of your success story, which is no excuse-itis.
Yes, right, absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, no excuse-itis. I sort of came up with that from another motivation speaker, Jim Rohn, actually came up with the word. Mm-hmm. And to me, what that meant to me and motivated me was that don't make excuses for who you are or what you can't do. Excuse-itis, I used to say that in Eli Lilly and Company, we make drugs for people that got diabetes. And I said, but there's no drug for excuse-itis, okay? Which is a health problem a lot of people seem to have, which is an excuse, okay? So I said, no, not going to suffer excuse-itis. So I never made an excuse for any condition. When I was in the 4th grade, I got hit in my right eye, was blind in my right eye, starting from there. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, now let's don't tell nobody that I'm blind in my right eye, because I'm not going to let nothing stop me, and I'm not looking for uh, people to be feeling sorry for me. I'm not looking for people to say, oh, poor Sherman. No, no, no. So my mama, when she got home, she told all my sisters and brothers, she said, Sherman is blind in his right eye. And the reason he is because I couldn't get him to the doctor because I didn't have any money. But once I got him there, the doctor said, I could have saved Sherman. I could have saved your eye, but couldn't because you waited too late. And I told my mom was upset. I said, Mama, don't be upset. Don't be upset. I'm going to take advantage of this. I'm going to make this my motivation to be somebody. Okay. So we got home. She told all my kids, all my sisters and brothers, Sherman's blind in one eye, but he don't want anybody to know. So don't tell your friends, don't tell neighbors, don't tell nobody. Now, when my mama tells you don't do something, you don't do that. Okay. Before I wrote that book, now in 2019, 95% of the people that knew me, Logan, grew up with me, worked with me, all that, did not know I was blind in one eye.
Amazing. Amazing.
Okay.
I mean,
Yes.
as I talk to you, I see a great attitude. I see a lot of joy. I see a lot of happiness. I can't ever see you saying, I can't. I mean, I think so much of your success story is attitude. I mean,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I think for most people, other people, oh, I'm blind in one eye. I can't do this. I can't play sports. I'll never be able to drive. Now I can't do this. I mean, some people have a problem for every solution.
Yes.
Your
Yes.
mind frame is you have a solution for every problem. You're not going to be stopped.
Absolutely.
You're a prize fighter. I mean, that's what it
Hey,
comes down to. You're going to keep on slugging, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, I go back to my mom for that, but I don't want to give her all the credit because if you ask me, Sherman, who really is responsible for your success, I would have to say it's Jesus Christ. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when we was growing up, Logan, we didn't go to church. My grandmother did. I had a grandmother. She went to church, seemed like every day. And Logan, she would tell us kids, 5, 6 years old, she says, that man from Galilee, he gives sight to the blind, raised the dead. Logan, she talked about the man from Galilee so much. As a young kid, I said, Galilee must be part of Arkansas. Okay. Because she sounded like she knew him personally. Okay. So,
exactly.
So, but again, I didn't come to Christ until later in my life. What happened, Logan? At some point in my life, I got sort of the big head. Okay, what does that mean? That means I knew I grew up eating out of a garbage can. I knew I failed grades. I knew I'm blind in one eye. But now here I am working at a corporation. Okay, doing good, driving a new car. Okay, it's me. Okay, look what I've done. Okay, except I came home one day, Logan, early. And my wife came to the door and she said, well, what are you doing? You're supposed to be at work. Wait a minute, I live here. Yeah. And as she was saying that, I looked behind her and there was a man. Wow. And he was not fully dressed, Logan.
My goodness.
Now, I got after him, and if I had caught him, you would not be interviewing me unless you were going to prison to interview people, okay? So thank God I didn't, okay? But let me say this, Logan, that hurt me so much. I had never been hurt that way in my entire life. I reached the point where my friends, who I really got close with, one of them name was Jack Daniels. Another name was Scotch. The other one name was all kind of, those were my friends, okay?
Right.
But when they wore off, the hurt was still there.
Yeah.
And at that point, Logan, my mind went back to my grandmother and the man from Galilee. Okay. I said, I've got to try this man. I mean, I tried everybody else in the ball. I've got to get to know this man personally. Yeah. And that's when I became a Christian. And Logan, today, if people ask me, Sherman, what's the best thing ever happened to you? It was catching that man in my house because that drew me to Christ. So whatever it took to get me to Christ, to me, I count that as a plus. Yeah. And let me tell you how I knew Christ is real. I ran into that gentleman a couple of years later. And when he saw me, Logan, his eyes, his body, just everything said, Right. And what I didn't know was that what God had done inside of me. Because when I saw him, instead of anger, I felt sad. I felt humble. I was hurting for him. Okay. Because I had a God that already made me whole. So I'm no longer suffering. And I walked
Right.
up to him and I shook his hand. His hand was shaking just a little bit. Okay. Because he remembered the last time we
Yeah, he's like
okay.
running out of there last time.
Exactly right. Yes. And what I found out, that proved to me the love of Christ.
Yeah.
That he can take you, and I don't care who you are, what you come from, and he can make you a new person. And that same gentleman now, every time I see him, you know what we're doing? High fiving.
That's
High
good.
five. Okay. Yes.
Amazing. Amazing.
Amen. Yes.
Amen. Well, it is an incredible story. We're glad you captured it all in this terrific book. It is called From Welfare to Faring Well, Journey to Success. It is a powerful message of faith, determination, and triumph against the odds. This is your how-to story, folks. The path that Sherman has cleared here and the way he got ahead is so admirable, so wonderful, and so faith-filled. You will just love this book. Sherman, thank you so much for joining me here today on GBN.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Logan.
Great having you on the show. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford for the Global Book Network. So long for now.